It's indeed a privilege to do this because technology is a issue that we are all grappling with in present times. I'm reminded of what Arrow said, that technology creates the mist of the future. So the future is not clear, and therefore we turn short-termists. When we turn short-termists, then all long-term issues go to the background. This is something that's defining society, where now increasingly, with marketization and with the growth of technology, we are taking a very short-term perspective on major problems of society. So that's one set of things that we have to grapple with. And in the context of labor, also it's very important because capital treats labor as homogeneous, which can shift, which can move around, but technology creates divide. Especially in a country like India, there is a huge technological divide that exists between the organized sector and the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector employs 94% of the workforce, organized sector employs only 6%. So that creates an enormous problem. There is lack of mobility from the unorganized to the organized sector. And as technological change has taken place, there is labor displacement that's taking place at a large level, including in agriculture. With increased use of tractors and harvester combines and threshers, now there is no labor absorption taking place in agriculture. There is in fact excess labor which needs to move out from there into other sectors. But other sectors are also so mechanized that they cannot absorb more labor. So there is a problem of unemployment, and unemployment has four categories. What we think of as unemployment is usually not unemployment alone. There is also underemployment. You define employment as if you have even 1 hour of work per week, you're employed, but clearly you're underemployed. So underemployment is there, and then there's disguised unemployment, and then there is people who've just left the labor force. They're not even looking for work. So these four categories of unemployment need to be looked at if we want to discuss labor. And technology has a very important role to play. 80% of all investment is going to the organized sector. And that's not generating jobs because of the use of technology. And only 5% investment is going to agriculture, which has 46% of the workforce. And that is inadequate to generate jobs there, to generate employment. So therefore, you have a problem of unemployment at both the poles. Where the investment is going, there you don't have employment generation. Where the investment is short, there you don't have employment generation in agriculture. So labor is stuck. So this is a reality that has come as a result of the kind of technical change that's taking place in the world, which we have copied. So globalization, which is also a sort of struggle for technology. What shape globalization is taking in India is also very important. We need to look at the context of globalization because technologies are coming from outside. We are way behind in R&D in India. We spend 0.7% of GDP on R&D, whereas other major countries are spending 3% and 4% on R&D. And China's economy is 5 times ours, so therefore they're spending 20 times more on R&D, and they become the manufacturing hub of the world. So this manufacturing hub of the world is capturing, and impacting our economy, especially the small scale and the micro sector. They've got very badly affected because goods are coming in from China, displacing these industries. So the unorganized sector is being displaced by imports from China. It's being displaced by the fact that organized sector is rising very dramatically. So all this is happening given the kind of technology and the technological change that's taking place. Finally, I'd like to also flag the issue of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is creating a huge change, and it's very rapid. We were only talking about ChatGPT 4 2 years back in November 2022, and now we are talking about ChatGPT 5, which will be able to mimic the human brain much more closely. It can do self-correction. The errors of ChatGPT 4 are going to get corrected with the use of Strawberry. Just 2 days back in the Indian Express, they had mentioned this. The Strawberry used with the ChatGPT 5, incorporating it would be able to do self-correction. So mimicking the human brain is going to be much more this thing. And as a result, we are not only going to displace semi-skilled jobs, like call centers, BPOs, but even skilled jobs are likely to be displaced. Work of doctors, chartered accountants, lawyers, and things like that, teachers, that can be displaced. So while some people will do well in these technologies, others are going to suffer because they don't have access to those technologies, and large number of people in India don't have access to technology. So in other words, there are huge challenges that face us today in India, especially vis-a-vis given the huge unemployment we have, in addition with the use of artificial intelligence, the kind of additional problems that will come, and all that will have political implications. You're all political scientists. I'm a sort of outsider. But I can see that the political implications will be huge, because the fight for reservation is going to only deepen. Reservation will not solve the issue of unemployment, but just those few jobs are important. So conflict in society will increase as a result of this growing unemployment. Everybody would be wanting to have more and more of the pie. But how do you get that pie for that? And it is in this context that I think the morning session where we were discussing the kind of political implications, they will get aggravated. So the political implications of the kind that you probably have been discussing, those are likely to get aggravated, and therefore, we have to be very careful about it. There's no time left for doing any final round, but nonetheless, what I'll do is just raise a few points. I think we've been talking about the micro. What my argument on employment has been that actually the issue is coming from the macro. The macro being that capital has become highly mobile globally. Labor is not mobile, and therefore capital is able to extract concessions from the nation state. And not only from the nation state, but within states also, it makes states compete with each other to give concessions. So say in Gujarat, I'll give this concession, then I'll go not to Maharashtra, but I'll not go to Maharashtra, but I'll go to Andhra. So I think we need to actually weave that in. And it is in this context that I remember World Bank saying that we need market-friendly state intervention. So it's not a complete retreat of the state. So it's not as if the market is left free. Market must be supported by the state. So that brings in the political economy of the current times, where in a sense, the opposition ruled states like Karnataka and like Telangana, they have gone in for 12-hour work week, which was part of the labor code. That which is what Narayan Murthy is saying, 70-hour work week, should be there. The idea is to exploit labor, because labor has no choice. Labor will have to do the work that's required. So I think this idea that it's coming from the international, coming to the national and the regional and the state levels, that linkage I think needs to be very carefully looked at in all this. Other thing is that we very often say projections. That there were Luddites, things didn't change. There were computerization, but still unemployment didn't change. But I think there's no linear process. It's a non-linear process, and I'm reminded of Kurzweil's book on singularity is near. He's pointing out that how the rate of change is becoming exponential. And not only is it becoming exponential, the exponent is also changing exponentially. So now in his second book, this was a 2005 book, saying singularity is near. Now he says we are in the singularity. That means the rate of change has already become exponential, where the exponent is changing exponentially with the chat GPT, etc. And very startling conclusions he comes to about the nature of production, the nature of relationships that would exist. So I think we have to look at the political economy very carefully. And it's in this context the idea of what is truth and what are facts. Facts can be manufactured by the state. So the state manufactures the truth. And that's what I think we are all contending with, where the narrative is being given to us. So I won't elaborate more on that, but one final thing, linked with education. I think skilling, education, the Acer reports that have been coming out showing that 14 to 18 children cannot read, 40% of them cannot do second class reading, writing and maths. So what kind of skilling is possible? And within this, what is a skill? The question that was raised. Farmers have a skill. but they're losing their farming. Okay, so it's not that they didn't have skill, but they are now going to become labor in the urban market and construction, taking bricks and so on up. So now they're becoming unskilled because what skill they had, we don't call it a skill, or the labor market doesn't support it, and therefore they're now becoming unskilled. So the nature of education and the kind of thing, and then the wages issue. The Constitution promises a living wage, not just a minimum wage. So we haven't even got to minimum wage. What to talk of living wage? So this is another issue which weakens labor, and therefore labor has to take whatever it gets. So the kind of work that is there. So thank you very much.